Hi, my name is Glenn. If you're new to this channel, I make simple lectures about math, statistics, and other related concepts. So in this video, I'll be showing how to conduct a simple item analysis of a Google form examination. And if you already know how to download and prepare your data for item analysis, you may skip this part and go directly to step 1. So in this Google form examination, I have a total respondents of 172. This is a 50-item multiple choice test, and the mean average is 26.4. The median is 26. The mode is 24. The highest score is 42, while the lowest is 11. As you can see, it approximates the normal distribution. So I already conducted a reliability test of this examination, and I have a Kuder-Richardson Formula 20 value of 0.7668, which is interpreted as acceptable. So as you can see, it's in this range. It only shows that there are a lot to improve in this test examination. There are items that needs to be revised and items that needs to be rejected. So let's go ahead and start with the item analysis. So on the Google form, let's look for the three dots, click this part, and download responses. Let's open the file, and this is the file that we are looking for. Let me enlarge that for you. Okay, so we have timestamp, the email addresses of the respondents, their total score, and the answers, the scores, and then the feedback. What we need in this file are just the scores. So we're going to convert this to 0 if it's 0.00 over 1, and this should be converted to 1 if we have 1.00 over 1. So to do that, press Ctrl F on your keyboard and you'll have this tab. We now go to replace, and then let's copy this value 1.00/1, paste it on this area. Your computer now will look for this value 1.00/1 across the sheet. Replace it with 1, then click replace all. There you go, 4,540 replacement. Click OK. And then of course we're going to replace this value to 0. So let's copy that value, paste it here, and then replace it with 0. Click replace all, and we made 4,060 replacement. Click OK. And then you now close this tab. Now again, you only need those entries, so you can delete this other columns, the feedback and the answers of each respondents, in such a way that everything is cleaned, and once it's cleaned, it's gonna look like this. There you go. So we have the username. I did not delete it yet, and I change all the entries on this upper column to item 1 up to item 50. There you go. On this last part, let's compute for the total score of each respondents. So this will become equals SUM open parenthesis, and let's highlight all the entries or the scores of respondent number 1. So that's until column AY, row 2. Press enter, and we have 25 over 50 for respondent number 1. Let's copy the formula up to the last respondent. And there you go. So we now have a total score of the respondent. Now let's go to the steps for item analysis. We have step 1, arrange the score from highest to lowest. Okay, let me just run this down. Step 2 is to get the top 27% and bottom 27% of the examinees. We have a total of 172. That would be 172 times 27%. That's equivalent to 46.4. Now we're talking about individual persons, so 0.44 is counted as 1. So we're going to round it up. That means the 27% of 172 is 47. For step 3, we're going to count the number of examinees in the upper and lower group who got each item correct. Our upper group, let's name it as PT or performing top, and then the lower group, let's name it as PB or the performing bottom. So once we have the result of the correct responses per groups, we now start computing the difficulty and the discrimination index. For the difficulty index, this is the summation of the correct items for both groups divided by capital N, and capital N is interpreted as the total examinees in both groups. So if we have 47 for the upper and lower group, that means it's the same as 2 small n, or 2 times 47, which is 96. And then for discrimination index, we have the difference of the two groups divided by small n, which is 47. So that the n value is 47. Okay, so let's start with step 1. We need to arrange the scores from highest to lowest. It's referred to the total score. So let's highlight this total scores. And then let's go ahead and include up to the name so that the name will go as well once it's sorted out. So let's click sort and filter and then sort largest to smallest. There you go. The highest score is 42 and the lowest score is 11. That's step 1. Step 2 is to get the top 27% and the bottom 27% of the examinees. For me to be able to determine who are this top 47 and bottom 47, I'm gonna need to transfer this file in such a way that my items, which are written on the rows, should be written on the columns. So what I'm gonna do is to copy everything and then place it to a new sheet, or copy it to a new sheet. I'm gonna paste it here and then right click, look for special paste and look for transpose. So once it's pasted, my columns now are the items and my rows are the names. I have 50 items and the bottom are the totals. As you can see, it's also sorted out from highest to lowest. So I can now start with my top 27%, which is top 47. So this is my first and second. And let me locate up to top 47. There you go. So this is now my top group, the top 47. And then on the bottom group, this is my 1, 2, and then let me locate my bottom 47. There you go. Those are my indicators now when I compute for my step 3. As you notice as well, I also made some values for the KR20. Let me just complete these entries to verify if my KR20 reliability test is still the same with what I previously computed. So P is the percentage of the correct responses. So this is equals total responses divided by 172. And then Q is the incorrect responses. That's equals 1 minus P. And then P is the product of the two. Okay, so I still have the same value of 0.7668. That's my reliability test. Okay, so I can hide these entries and now focus on my groups. So this will be my groups. This is now the correct responses of the upper group, and this will be the correct responses of the lower group. So let me start with the upper group. This is equals SUM open parenthesis, and let me locate my top 47. There you go. So I took the sum of this, and that's 45. So for item 1, I have 45 correct responses for the upper group. And for the lower group, this is equals SUM open parenthesis. And let's tally the correct responses of the lower group. There you go. So I have 45 and 15. Let's copy this to the whole items. There you go. So I now have my correct responses for the upper and the lower group. Let's start with the discrimination index. So again, this is the sum of these values, the sum of the two groups divided by the capital N. That's the total number of examinees in both groups. So this equals open and close parenthesis divided by 47 times 2 is 96 or 94. Let me double check that. This should be 94 and not 96. So on my formula, this is equals open parenthesis responses from the upper group plus correct responses from the lower group, close parenthesis divided by 94. Enter. Then let's copy the values or the formula. There you go. And then let's get ready to interpret these entries. So for the interpretation of this example, I'll be focusing on these three interpretations. Now, this is not absolute for all item analysis. Some item analysis are interpreted using 5 descriptors or criterion, but in my example, I'll be using this. So in spreadsheet, let's make use of the if-else condition. This is equals if, open parenthesis, this value is greater than or equal to, let's start with the first interpretation, 0.76, comma, this is interpreted as very easy, so we have open and close quotation, and then we enter very easy. Then followed by a comma. Let's move to the next interpretation. So we type again if, and then open parenthesis. Click this cell, greater than or equal to 0.25, comma. This is interpreted as average, so that's in open and close parenthesis. Average, followed by a comma. Now the third interpretation, if the values does not belong to very easy and average, then we have an interpretation of very difficult. So that's in open quotation, very difficult. And then close quotation. And then the number of open parentheses is 2, so we have 2 close parentheses. Press enter. And we have this average interpretation for 0.64, which is correct. We now copy the formula placed in the cell. There you go. So as you notice, I have a summary table below. Very easy is 6, average is 4, very difficult is 4, a total of 50 items. So let me hide this cell. There you go. Now what we're aftering for the difficulty index is this entry, the average. So if we have very easy and very difficult, at some point, these might be revised or rejected, depending on the result of our discrimination index. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the discrimination index and the formula. This is equals open parenthesis, the difference of the correct responses in our groups. So we have PT minus PB, close parenthesis, divided by the N value is the 27% of our respondents, which is 47. Then press enter. And we have a value of 0.64. Let's copy the formula. There you go. And then let's look at the interpretation for discrimination index. What we are aftering for the discrimination index is at least zero point 0.2 and above to be considered as very good, reasonably good, or marginal item. What we don't want for our interpretation is the number 0.19 and below interpreted as poor item. So let's place the interpretation using the if-else condition. So that's equals if, open parenthesis, this value greater than or equal to zero point 0.4, comma, this is interpreted as very good, so that's in open and close quotation. Then we enter very good. Then followed by a comma. The next interpretation, if, open parenthesis, this value is greater than or equal to 0 0.3, comma, this is interpreted as reasonably good, so that's in open and close quotation. Reasonably good. Then followed by a comma. The next interpretation, marginal item. So if, open parenthesis, this value is greater than or equal to 0.2, then comma, this is interpreted as marginal item. That's marginal item. Then followed by a comma. Now, if the value doesn't fall for very good, reasonably good, and marginal item, then it should fall to poor item. So that's in open and close quotation, poor item. Then we have 3 open parentheses, so let's also put 3 close parentheses. Press enter, and let's check. 0.64 is under very good. Okay, so this is correct. Let's copy the formula. And then let's look at the summary table. As shown in my summary table, I have 12 poor item, and the rest are okay, marginal, reasonably good, and very good. So let's look at the decision now. Okay, I'm going to highlight this because it both fails discrimination and difficulty index. Let's put that in yellow, meaning this item will be rejected. So in my decision, what I'm going to reject are the items that both fail in my difficulty and discrimination index. As you can see, it is very easy, meaning it's obvious that your correct answer is easily spotted as correct answer. It is also poor item because you cannot separate the performance of the upper group and the lower group. The performance of both groups is just the same. We say it's very good if the situation is like this. You can definitely see that the upper group scores higher than the lower group, while in this case, there's no significant difference of these two. That's why it becomes poor item. So for this item, it passed the difficulty index. It's okay. It's in average value, but it's a poor item, meaning you cannot separate the performance of the upper and the lower group. So what you can do is to revise this in such a way that you can change your distractors or your choices, improve the choices, so there's a way for this group to have separate performance. So let me look for those failing areas. So we have this item. That's the second one. Third item. Fourth item. Fifth. So I'm going to reject 5 items because those items failed for the difficulty index and the discrimination index. In this item, as you can see, it's very difficult, meaning this is a hard item. The distractors are really functioning well, meaning your wrong choices there are really efficient in confusing the respondents to choose which one is the correct answer. It's also poor item because there's no significant difference between the performance of these two groups. So I have 5 to reject, and then these items will be revised. So I have to revise this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and there you go. I have 5 to reject, 12 to revise, and 33 items retained. So once I perform these decisions, definitely my reliability tests for this particular exam would improve. And this will definitely help me in making my tests a very good test item. So once again, item analysis is the process of examining students' responses to individual tests in order to assess the quality of those items on a test. And we say that an excellent question can be answered by all students regardless of whether they are performing or non-performing. So what we are aftering for the difficulty index is the average items. And then we also say that an excellent question can separate the performing from the non-performing students. What we're aftering for the discrimination index is 0.20 and above, in that we don't like the poor item to exist. Okay, so there you go. That's the item analysis of this Google form examination. If this video was helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.